All right. So, hello, HDTA members. My name is Ron Ippolito. This is
John Minkus, president of HDTA.
And so we're here today because we've heard a lot from general education teachers wanting to know. There's a lot of changes that are going on in the world of special education, and so a couple months ago we reached out and said, what are some frequently asked questions that you have as general education teachers about special education? So first, John, I think I'd like to start at the beginning quickly. What are some of the foundational principles that are at play when it comes to how to best serve students with special needs?
Okay. Hi, everybody. The key question is that we're here to provide for all students. Originally, education is based on FAPE, which is a free and appropriate public education for all students. Most of us have heard of that. Some of us have not heard in LRE, the least restrictive environment. So we've always had that as our goal. But in this district, we've always provided services for special education students in programs and in separate settings. Now the state of California has codified in a mandate that we are now mandated to follow a plan of inclusion. What that means is what we would like to talk about.
So this is not something that just the Hart District has randomly decided. This is something that the state of California, this is state law, and it's impacting school districts across the state. And it's my understanding that we are now, the mandate has come from the state, and now it's kind of up to school districts to figure out how to interpret that and how to implement that, correct?
Yes, our district has been tasked with benchmarks for the percentage of students in general ed classes who are classified in specific special ed levels. And currently we are required to have, I believe, 70. It's gone up from 62% to 70 over the last few years, progressively increasing to upwards as high as 80, we have heard. None of that has been decided as of yet.
So for years, as a general education teacher, I've had students who have either been in the resource program or have been classified what we call CC, used to be SC1. So I've had those students already in my classroom, but it seems like with this inclusion model, now I'm going to start seeing more of those students in my classroom, correct?
Yes. These are the same students you've had primarily. The inclusion model is really basically eliminating the CC classes for kids. So the kids you've always had in your classes from the CC program are now, we're all going to be there. And that's the major change. So the student population will just change in the percentage of special ed kids, students with IEPs that are enrolled in your class.
So John, speaking of students with IEPs enrolled in my class, how will I, as a general education teacher, how will I know how to provide service, the service needs of those students in my classroom that do have an IEP?
Which is a great point, because special education is a service, not a place, and that's what the state has moved towards. So the first thing is, as most people know, the flag on Infinite Campus will identify your student as having an IEP. At that point, you might not have any more information. At each site, they have their own protocols, but there should be a case manager. One person should be in contact with you who would be in charge of that student's IEP and providing the services or guaranteeing the services are provided for that student. Communication with that person is paramount.
So sometimes I've seen entire IEPs, and they're, especially for a gen ed teacher, it's a little daunting. But I understand that there are some things that I definitely should know as a general education teacher: modifications, accommodations, and goals. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. The IEP document is over 30 pages these days, and most of the pages are not relevant to your classroom. So when the case manager contacts you, those are the pages which are going to be relevant to your classroom. What accommodations and modifications listed on the IEP that are relevant to your class and are appropriate to your lessons will you implement? Are there modifications necessary? and what are the student's goals in general, so you know if you're around that student where you might help them a little bit more. Be aware of those things.
And so, John, if I'm feeling overwhelmed or I feel like I need some kind of support, either on the academic side or on the behavioral side, what do I do if I'm just feeling like I don't know how to get to provide service for this particular student?
That's a good question. The case manager has to be your first line of support. Really get that communication down. I will say the district is looking at dividing up their other support services by campus coming up in the near years, which would have behaviorists on campus at call for teachers as needed.
Okay. Well, John, thank you so much. I feel like this was a good start. Again, like we mentioned, this is going to be the first part in a video series.
Yes.
To provide support and to answer those frequently asked questions about what's going on and how we can how we can best provide services to these students who do have IEPs. So, folks, HGTA members, we have gotten several of your questions from that Google form that we pushed out earlier this year. But if there's something that you'd like to know or something that you'd like to see in this video series, do one of two things. You can either reach out to your faculty representative and make sure that they pass along that question, or just leave it right down here in the comments in this YouTube video. Thanks so much, John. Thank you. And thank you for your support and membership in the Hart District Teachers Association, HGTA United.
Together.